YouTube, what's going on? Kevin the Tech Ninja here, and today we're doing a speed test between the S21 Ultra, iPhone 12 Pro Max, and OnePlus 9 Pro. When you think of newer phones that are top of the class when it comes to performance, these are the phones you think of. Now, to make this test as seamless as possible, I did reboot all the phones and they're connected to the same Wi-Fi. Also, I made sure no apps were in memory, and I ran the test multiple times, and if the times were a little bit different, I made sure I corrected that by giving an average. But for the most part, all these phones scored consistently the same. But for the most part, the run that you're seeing right here was the cleanest run. With the S21 Ultra, I changed the settings to Quad HD resolution with adaptive refresh. Starting out of the gates, the S21 Ultra has a strong performance, launching all the apps instantly. I did feel that Reddit took a little bit longer to pull in the information, but I think it did recover pretty quickly when we got to YouTube and then to the camera. So during the speed test, the games is where we really start to see the difference, where one phone lags behind or pulls away. And Grand Theft Auto loaded pretty quickly. It's kind of a heavier game. Among Us is a slow loading game in the first place, so I wanted to toss this in the test to see if there's a difference between the phones. The final game coming down the home stretch is Call of Duty Mobile. Now, this game is a beefy game, requires a lot of assets for it to load, and this is probably going to be the deciding factor between all three phones. And we finished the test at 1 minute. That is a solid number. Let's see how the iPhone does. So contrary to what a lot of people believe, the iPhone is not like the fastest phone out there for launching apps. It has a very long and drawn out animation when launching apps, and then when you're closing apps, it takes a little bit longer than what we're seeing with these Android phones, especially having to do the swipe up motion. And then taking a look at some apps, they just take a little bit longer to load compared to what we saw with the S21. I could pretty much tell this is going to be a slower speed compared to what we're going to see with the other two phones today. Now, the iPhone does have to load these games rather quickly to make up this lost time, but looking at it right now, I don't think that's going to happen. The iPhone landed at 1 minute and 15 seconds, which is a whole 15 seconds slower than the S21 Ultra. So here we are, the main event, the OnePlus 9 Pro. I made the setting changes to match the S21 Ultra with QHD resolution at 120 Hz. Running the test off the bat, much faster and much more responsive, especially coming from a 60 Hz screen. Now, all these phones feel pretty quick out of the gate, but this phone just feels like it's absolutely destroying all these apps. At this point of the test, the S21 Ultra was here as well, and both phones feel pretty much the same. Now, I will admit, I am pretty interested to see how it loads Call of Duty Mobile, and it's done. So we finished just under 1 minute. This was nearly a tie, but the OnePlus edged out the S21 Ultra just by a little bit. When we do a side-by-side comparison, you can see where the S21 Ultra almost caught up when it came to loading Call of Duty Mobile. After I completed these tests, I then started to just launch applications that I ran in the test just to see if the phones were keeping those in memory or if they were closing the apps all the way. Every single phone and every single app besides one, the iPhone for whatever reason kept closing down Netflix, but beyond that, everything stayed in memory, which is really nice to see. So now we're moving over to 3D Mark. This is a gaming benchmark. The overall score was 5758, and the average frames per second was 34.5. The iPhone 12 Pro Max has a score of 7351 and the average frames per second was 44. The S21 Ultra score was very similar to the OnePlus at 5701 and the average frames per second was 34.1. The next and final test is Antutu benchmark. In this test, CPU, GPU, CPU multitasking, and also UX. So I'm going to leave the scores on the screen so you can see it. The OnePlus edged out the Galaxy S21 Ultra and it beat the iPhone as well. In different categories, you may see the S21 Ultra beat the OnePlus 9, but the overall score was higher on the OnePlus. So I guess the question is, what do the benchmarks tell us? And do you listen to benchmarks over a real-world test of launching and closing apps? That is something I really want to know. Anyways, guys, Kevin the Tech Ninja here. Have a great day. I'll catch you guys later. Take care.